Welcome to the Albuquerque Journal's Tech Outlook podcast. CNM is truly one college with infinite possibilities in tech and data sciences. CNM offers programs where everyone can learn about software, apps, or how to build websites. You can also choose from AI programs and machine learning, the Internet of Things, and so much more. CNM, one college, infinite possibilities, and the proud sponsor of the Tech Outlook podcasts.
Welcome to Tech Outlook, a new podcast from the Albuquerque Journal Business Desk. We're inviting local, community, and business leaders in to talk about how they're using technology to spur economic development in cities like Albuquerque. My name is Megan Gleason, and I'm a business reporter here at the Journal. Today I'm joined by Harold Trujillo, who's the Energy, Technology, and Engineering Bureau Chief at the New Mexico Energy, Minerals, and Natural Resources Department. Harold was also recently named 2024 Engineer of the Year by the New Mexico Society of Professional Engineers. Harold, why don't you tell the viewers a little bit more about yourself?
Thank you. I'm Harold Trujillo. I grew up in a farm in Mora, New Mexico. I graduated from Mora High School and then went to attend New Mexico State University. After that, I was drafted by the U.S. Army and spent 2 years in the service in Arizona. And then after I got out of the service, then I went to Highlands University, took a few computer courses, and then luckily I was interviewed by Lawrence Livermore Lab and recruited, and I ended up working out there a few years. After that, I was interested in coming back to New Mexico, and I was able to find a position at the New Mexico Energy, Minerals, and Natural Resources, and I started there on November 1st, 1979.
Yeah. So tell me how you first got interested in the field of engineering.
Well, the truth is that the NASA program was real active when I was in high school, and certainly that piqued my interest. Also, I like to fix farm equipment and overhaul automobiles. So I got an interest in, how do machines work. And of course, my parents also encouraged me, to be an engineer since I was in middle school.
And you mentioned your degrees. Tell me about where you got them, about your studies.
Yeah, I studied mechanical engineering at New Mexico State University, and I graduated from there in 1972. And as I said earlier, I also took additional courses in other universities and computer courses at Highlands University too later on.
And now you've been at the state's energy department since 1979, which is quite a long time. What's kept you around?
Well, the work is interesting. Going back to what was happening like in the 73, 74 time frame, I was in gas lines in Arizona when I was in the service. I would spend the weekends just on the gas lines waiting to fill up the tank for my car. And then when I worked in California, it was a similar thing, where I spent time. In that case, I had odd, even days to fill your tank. But that got me concerned about, our energy supplies and, what we were doing about that. And so I decided that I really should try to do something about it. And when I first, in Livermore, we did a lot of energy conservation work, and I was part of the design team that made buildings more energy efficient. And when I was looking for a position in New Mexico, well, I figured, I would like to contribute that knowledge, right, to helping New Mexico. And I was lucky enough to find that position in the Energy Conservation and Management Division. And so in those days, we concentrated on conservation, energy conservation. So like setting back your thermostat at night and adding insulation. But as we progressed throughout the years, the work was always interesting. We then got into like the Renewable Energy Production Tax Credit, which then funded the beginning of all those wind farms that we see. And so we then started to see things in a very large scale. And so now we're transitioning under Governor Lujan Grisham. We're now transitioning, of course, into the Energy Transition Act, right, and getting into more complex types of programs, like carbon sequestration, grid modification, all of those new challenges that we're dealing with to help the grid work better and to improve our environment. So that's the work has been continually interesting, and that's what's kept me working there.
So you were recently named 2024 Engineer of the Year by the New Mexico Society of Professional Engineers. Yes. What does that mean to you? What does that title mean?
Well, that's very important to me. It is the best award I've ever received. It is recognition by my peers, that my work has been valuable to the profession and to New Mexico.
Yeah. And let's get into some of these technical things. So you're the Bureau Chief of Energy, Technology, and Engineering. So what exactly does that mean?
So that means that I have several programs that I oversee. And for example, one of the larger programs is what we call the ESCO program, or Energy Performance Contracting Program. So under that program, we retrofit all public facilities, or state facilities, higher ed facilities. City of Albuquerque, for example, we're now approved a project for them, UNM South. And these are large projects. They're like $10 million and $20 million size projects, so that they can improve all their facilities. So we review those projects and approve them and assist them with the certifications to make sure that the projects are implemented correctly. We also have responsibility for permitting geothermal wells, and there's some interesting facilities we have right now in Deming. We're actually we have one of the deepest wells that was just dug to 18,000 feet deep, and the purpose is to be able to generate more heat for that generating facility that's located, basically Lightning Dock is the name of the operation. We also, of course, implement the Renewable Energy Production Tax Credit, which provides 1 cent per kilowatt hour to wind developers, and that has really stimulated the growth of wind and solar projects in New Mexico. We also administer the tax credits, and the tax credits, of course, we try to help residents implement, their solar projects, and that's been an interesting task. We have, of course, processed a lot of tax credits. We're also now working on implementing the Inflation Reduction Act rebate programs, so we're assisting in developing that program right now. And in fact, we were one of the first states to submit an application to DOE. So we're hoping to launch that program by the end of the year, and people will be able to get rebates for their heat pumps or other insulation or windows that they wish to install. And that's a federal program that we're in the process of implementing.
So you touched on this a little bit already, but can you speak to what's working well with renewable energy in New Mexico and some of the challenges the state still faces?
Well, New Mexico has a perfect environment to tap into our renewables. We have over 300 days of sunshine, and then we have plenty of wind resources like around Moriarty and the eastern third of the state. So all we have to do is take advantage of those resources. We also have geothermal, for example. That's a resource we haven't really evaluated much, and we, of course, passed some legislation that will help us evaluate that and discover some new sources of geothermal. So that's another opportunity that we need to tap into. Also, one of the main reasons that we can implement all of these projects is that wind and solar are now real cost-effective types of programs that can be implemented. So it is beneficial to a company to actually shift from coal and produce energy from wind and solar. Of course, under the Energy Transition Act has helped a lot, right? Where that, we want to be, 50% renewables, by 2030. So that has really helped us, improve the amount of renewables that we get from our sources. So the Energy Information Administration from DOE recently released a report in December that showed that 60% of our electricity came from renewable energy resources. And for the first time, we did not use coal to generate electricity in the state.
Yeah, it's a big change. And at the state's Energy Department, you help oversee solar market development and sustainable building tax credit programs. Can you tell me about those programs?
Yes, the solar program has been extremely popular. And, for example, the credit provides a 10% cost of the solar system with a maximum of $6,000. Also, the average person will actually benefit in terms of about $1,600 of savings in your utility bill per year. Under that program, there's been approximately 100 megawatts of renewable energy installed that helps the state's power grid. We've actually processed over 12,648 applications in the last 4 years. The significant impact of that tax credit is that it really has stimulated about $120 million worth of economic activity. Each year, the legislature has allocated $12 million to the program, and it's 10%. So that stimulates a lot of economic activity in New Mexico. And of course, the new legislature passed some additional funding for it. There'll now be $30 million for applicants to tap into and help them install their solar systems. And then there's also $20 million allocated to help those poor people that were not able to get a tax credit because the cap has been exceeded. This solar tax credit has been very effective for the state in helping implement solar for many residences.
Mm-hmm. And some of that is post the governor's signature, correct?
Yes, we're currently waiting for her to, we're hoping that she will sign all these bills.
Yeah. And today is Thursday, so maybe by the time this comes out on Monday.
Hopefully.
Mm-hmm. Looking ahead, what do you see for the future of renewable energy and sustainability in New Mexico?
Well, one thing I think we should recognize is that climate change has already occurred. What we're really looking at right now is mitigating it. And that's what all these efforts are about, is we have to mitigate that change as best we can. So we have to continue to encourage renewables, wind, solar, geothermal. There's a large potential in New Mexico for geothermal. We haven't discovered all that there is. And so we have efforts to discover that. And also the legislature passed, some bills in geothermal. And we're hoping that the governor will sign all of those bills that were passed with the solar, geothermal, and others. So that is one thing I would like to point out. From a personal point of view, I would like to point out that global change has affected my farm. The change has caused droughts, and it's almost impossible to grow a crop in my farm. And so it really impacts our water supplies. And because of that, I've been involved in a lot of water issues, and trying to see how we can supply water to our farms in a better way, more efficient way. And so I've been part of the New Mexico Acequia Association. I've been involved with them since 1989 as vice president and president. But we all need to conserve water as best we can and look at how we can develop some other resources, recycling or conservation of water.
Certainly a changing environment.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I think that's all the time we have. Thank you so much for being here and answering these questions. And for anyone watching,
Thank you.
Yeah. And for anyone watching, if you're interested in coming on to talk about anything tech related, feel free to send us an email at techoutlook@abqjournal.com. Tech Outlook comes out every Monday, so keep an eye out. But otherwise, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.